All right, guys, today is the test that you've been waiting for. We're gonna run through and do a complete comparison between the new Rapsodo MLM2PRO and the Garmin R10. You guys have asked for it in the comments, and for good reason. These two are priced almost exactly the same. They're both super portable, and they're both accurate, but just how accurate is the question.
That's it.
So as part of this video, after we run through the features of each, we're gonna do a full accuracy test. We're gonna put these two head to head up against the Foresight GC3, which is gonna serve as our control. That's an $8,000 launch monitor, and it's super accurate camera system launch monitor. So we're gonna see how closely these two will get in measurement to that. So first, high-level overview. Let's talk a little bit about each one, when they were released, and pricing, because as I said before, pricing really comes down very close. And they also both do have those additional premium features that come at an extra price. So first, the MLM2PRO is just released. This is a March, April 2023 product. And the Garmin R10 has been out since July of 2021.
Wow.
So it's been out a
so
little bit longer. Yeah, a little bit longer. One thing I will say though is that both consistently have both firmware and software updates. So make sure you're applying those so that you're able to get the most accuracy out of these. Specifically, which we'll talk about in a second, the Garmin Approach R10, we had tested it about a year and a half ago out on the range against the original MLM. We noticed it was fairly accurate, but it left us wanting a little bit more. There have been some firmware updates which we've applied to this, which now allows it to work with the Titleist RCT ball. And we've seen a huge jump in accuracy when using that ball. I'm gonna break that down for you more in a second, but let's just go through that price. So the Garmin R10 is $599, and the MLM2PRO is $699. So a $100 difference right there in the pricing of the original unit.
Okay.
But if you use the premium features, they work out to be the exact same price in the first year, because the Garmin R10 is $100 per year for the premium features, which is a lot of the stuff that you're going to want to be using, things like that simulation, etc.
And that's right out of the gate, so $699.
So right out of the gate, if you want the premium features, you're going to spend $699. The Rapsodo MLM2PRO comes with all the premium features in the first year. So your first year price for both these units is exactly the same at $699 a year. Every year after that, so year 2 and on, you're gonna pay $100 a year for the Garmin R10 and $199 per year for the Rapsodo MLM2PRO. Now, simulation we briefly touched on. We're just running through like what they both have. Rapsodo has what they call the Rapsodo simulation. They both have a built-in simulation.
Okay.
Rapsodo simulation comes with about 30,000 plus courses preloaded. And the Garmin R10 comes with what's called Home T Hero. Again, both part of that premium. You got that extra premium to unlock these for both. But that comes with 42,000 plus courses preloaded. So it's a wide database for both.
Sure.
And I'm sure it's growing regularly. But for those of you out there who are looking for the more realistic simulation, and you're building that home simulator, both of these will integrate with other platforms like Awesome Golf and E6.
Okay. Yep.
I know E6 in particular is incredibly realistic in its graphics. So you'll be able to, if you're saying you want a little bit more out of it, you want that graphics, you can integrate that. So those are basically the similarities between the two. Now let's talk real quick about the differences.
Yeah.
So getting into the Garmin Approach R10 first. This is a radar-based system where we've seen, and I mentioned it before, this big increase in accuracy has been with the Titleist RCT ball. And simply put, the reason for this is originally designed to work with TrackMan, but now working with other radar systems. Inside, which you can't see and doesn't affect the performance of the ball, are reflective. Think like tin foil, almost, right? So what that does is those reflectors help the radar system pick up things like launch angle, spin, all those types of things. Now, Garmin themselves have said that the R10 is significantly more accurate when using the RCT ball. I'll even read the quote directly from Garmin here. They said, by using the Titleist RCT radar capture technology, golfers receive a more precise measurement on their Approach R10 portable launch monitor, including up to a 30 times more accurate reading of spin rate and up to a 50% increase in carry distance accuracy.
Wow.
So there's two ways you can think of that. One would be in an indoor environment, into a net, using these two together, you're getting a lot more accuracy than you did when this was first released. The other way is thinking of that in reverse and saying, well, if I don't use the RCT ball, that means my readings are 30 times less accurate.
Yep.
That's concerning to me. So keep that in mind as we go through. But this, again, like I said, it's a radar-based system. There are no cameras in here. However, what you can do with the Garmin is you can pair it with your mobile device, your iPhone, your Android, your iPad, and you can use the camera on there to capture your swings.
Okay.
And then as part of those premium features, your data and your swings are all recorded in there. So you're able to store that. So that's the R10. Let's quickly talk about the MLM2PRO and some of the differences here. Similarly, 6 feet behind the ball, 8 feet of travel is your minimum, what you'd want in your space if you're building it out indoors. This, though, works differently. This is a dual system of radar and 2 cameras. Now, the way that it works is that the radar and the cameras work together to pick up all those statistics that we were talking about earlier, launch angle, ball speed, and all importantly, spin axis. So speaking of those cameras in the MLM2PRO, you have 2 cameras that are on board. You have what's called the shot vision. That's that down the line camera that's going to capture your swing down the line and show you those tracers. Then you have your impact vision. This is a zoomed in view of the ball and the impact the club makes with the ball. It's filmed at 240 frames per second. So A, it gives us visual feedback, but B, that's also what's being used to read this very specific ball marking. That's how you're getting those spin and spin axis rates. But additionally, you have what's called your swing vision. So what this is whatever mobile device you're using, you're able to set that up wherever you want. Some people are gonna set it up face on, so you capture down the line and face on. So it's gonna be recording your swing from your device. The good news is all of that as part of the premium features, all of that is stored. So as you go through and you have your sessions and your swings, you can go back and for each swing, you can look at all of the different camera angles.
So without a mobile device using the R10, you can't see any visuals of your swing.
Correct. The R10 will also store your shot data, but it's just the shot data. You're not able to see your swing unless you have the camera on your mobile device turned on. That is the only camera. There are no onboard cameras on the R10. So we've got 2 onboard cameras which are running at all times on the Rapsodo MLM2PRO. So I'd say now let's put them to the test.
Okay.
Let's jump into it. Like I said, we are going to make this a fair fight. And in order to do so, we are going to put them head to head, and we're going to put them both in their most accurate possible scenario, which is going to be the RCT ball with the Garmin R10 and the RPT ball with the Rapsodo MLM2PRO. We're gonna put them up against the Foresight GC3, and we're gonna measure a bunch of important statistics. We're gonna run through, we're gonna show you the shots now, and then we're gonna hop back in here, break it down, and let you know what we thought about the accuracy and which one we think is the winner. So it remains to be seen. I'm very excited to see this test.
Let's go. Come on.
All right, so here's how we're gonna run through this test. And first of all, huge thanks to Ace Indoor Golf because they provided us with the Foresight GC3 to use for this test. And make sure you subscribe because we've got a fun little project we're gonna be doing with Ace. We're gonna be actually building, we talk about simulators, building a simulator in one subscriber's
Custom,
house.
baby, yep.
Custom build. Little surprise, little benefit of subscribing. So make sure you subscribe. But let me tell you how this test is gonna work. First, we're gonna run through the Garmin R10. We're going to hit 3 shots with wedge, 3 with a 7-iron, and 3 with a driver. What we're gonna be recording here is carry distance, ball speed, launch angle, total spin, and spin axis. All of those should paint a really good picture of accuracy when they work together, and we're gonna be comparing them up against this GC3, which like I said is an $8,000 launch monitor. So thanks to Ace that we didn't have to lay out the money for that one.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
So we've got it loaded up. As a reminder, we're gonna be using the RCT ball here for this, and So you guys know the space we're working with. We are 6 feet. We've measured out to the device. After this, we're going to swap that out with the MLM2PRO. It's going to sit in the same spot. And we have 10 feet of ball travel to our net here. So again, 8 is the minimum, but we've got 10.
Okay.
So let's start off. We're going to hit 3 quick wedge shots here. Okay.
Good one out of the gate. Let's give me those GC numbers for carry distance.
Carry 105 yards.
Ball speed.
88.6, 9499 on the spin.
And your spin axis.
6 degrees left, which is a -6.
Okay.
-6.
And the launch angle.
32.7 degrees on the launch angle. All right, so Mike is just quickly entering the R10. We're going to show you guys and highlight some of them, and then, like I said, at the end, we're going to break these all down and show them on screen so you have all the data.
All right, so the R10, 96 on the carry distance to your 105. That was a little off there. The speed was close, 87 over here to your 88.6. The spin, 95.01 over here to your 94.99, so really close there. The spin axis, -6 for you on the GC3, -4.4 for the R10. And then launch angle, you had 32.7 to 30.8.
All right, let's run through 2 more of these real quick.
Okay.
See that? That worries me. That worries me. This read a 12-degree left. That's a -12 spin axis. The Garmin was a 1-degree right. So actually, that's almost saying, the Garmin saying that ball was moving a little bit to the right, 1 degree, not much. The other one's saying it's a draw. So one more shot with the wedge. Already, like I said, we'll break down all the numbers in a minute. The numbers look fairly accurate. The only one that's concerning us right there on that particular shot was the spin axis. Let's see if it's just an outlier. Now, while Mike is entering the data for the R10 for that last shot, we're going to move up to a mid-iron. I'm going to be hitting a 7-iron here. Same thing, 3 balls. All right, we got driver, 3 shots with driver now. Ball speed was 146, not terrible on the ball speed. Spin, 1850, right about where I'd want it with driver.
Spin axis.
Spin axis was 55 left, it's saying.
The Garmin R10 has you doing a slice 30, and you've got the GC Quad duck hooking you 55 left.
Yeah.
Something's way off.
Something's way off. So spin axis 55, -55, 55 left on one, 30 right on the other.
I think the key is going to see what the spin axis is on the MLM2PRO to see if it's the game changer.
Better swing. Spin axis there was 34 left, so a -34. A little bit more of a draw than a hook.
Do you want to guess what your spin axis was over here? 8.9 right.
8.9 right, okay. So again, we're seeing some good numbers, which we like to see. Ball speed, launch angle are looking good on the R10. Spin axis is the one that's concerning us, but hang tight, because like I said, we're going to break them all down. We still haven't even hit the MLM2PRO yet. We're going to hit that in a moment, but we've got one more driver swing here. All right, now time for the same exact test. 3 swings with each club, wedge, 7-iron driver with the MLM2PRO, which is set up in the same spot. Same everything else. The only difference now, we've got the RPT ball, which we're using to calculate the spin like we talked about. So let's hit wedge.
All right. Carry over there.
Carry, 111 yards. Ball speed, 92 miles an hour. Total spin, 9775. Launched it at 30.7 degrees. And spin axis was -8, 8 left.
Wow.
What do we got? Just give me some figures that stand out to you.
I'll tell you what. 112 on carry distance to your 111. 91.6 ball speed to your 92. 97.66 to your 97.75 on the spin. And get this, spin axis to your -8, 8 left. It's -7, 7 left.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're within 1 degree on the spin axis.
Correct.
There. That's huge.
Let's just see. It's just one shot.
Just one shot. Let's go another.
It's a good shot there.
Yep.
Nice crispy wedge shot.
And like I said, stay tuned. We will, at the end of this, display all the numbers on the screen so you guys can pause it, break it down if you want, and look at every single number. Okay, the wedge is back in the bag. 7-iron now, just like with the R10. 3 shots with 7-iron. That one I know I pushed a little bit left, but decent contact there though. Okay, one more with 7-iron, and then we'll move to driver. Another good shot there. That was probably my best 7-iron of the day. All right, now back to driver. Like I said, here's where we saw, and we'll break it down in a moment, what we saw the most, I would call, inaccuracies with the R10. Keep in mind, the ball is traveling much faster. You're seeing less rotations in this distance. We'll talk all about that in a second. Here we go. Hold on, I see Mike smiling over there. Yeah. Do you have a reason? Well, what's up? What do you got?
I mean, it's just the spin here. It's just much more accurate than we saw.
What numbers did you get?
To your 1924, we're at 2113.
What was the spin axis on that last one?
Negative 23.3 to your negative 22.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
So we're under 2-degree difference.
Yeah. That was a good shot.
I left it all on the field for the last one.
Yeah, you did, huh? Wow.
All right. All the numbers, Mike's going to finish entering them. Like I said, we're going to show them all on screen. We're going to break them down right now. I'm going to catch my breath. Guys, before we go over there, there's one last test I want to do. I mentioned this before. Garmin says it's 30 times more accurate when you use the RCT ball. So I want to see what kind of spin we get with just a regular Titleist Pro V1, not RCT, no reflective characteristics inside the ball. So I'm going to hit just the 7-iron real quick. Like I said earlier, MLM2PRO won't give you spin if you're not using the RPT ball. This Garmin will give you spin, but the question is the spin accurate enough that you can rely on it, or is it something that you should just ignore if you're not using the RPT ball? So, I'm sorry, RCT ball. Spun it at 3999.
3954.
Okay, 21 left.
6 left.
Spin axis continues to be a problem with that device. So now we're just going to hit the non-RCT. This is just a regular Titleist Pro V1. 4849 on the spin.
Yeah, it's almost 5,800 here. It's 5785, so 1,000.
1,000 off. How about I got my spin axis 11 left?
1.7 right. And these spin rates in italics, so what does that mean?
Well, so this is the other thing, it's very important. When they display it, and this is what Garmin says, if it displays in italics, it means that it's an estimated.
Okay.
So it means it was not able to read it. It's estimating that based on some of the other things it was able to take a reading off of. Again, you have to decide if you've got the Garmin, know that you're going to get spin numbers that you would not get with the Rapsodo, but, and it's a big but, do you want the spin numbers if they're off by 1,000?
At that point, why
with
take
a 7-iron?
I'd rather have none.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the debate people are going to have, and we'd love to hear what you guys think, so drop in the comments. Let's get back in the booth. Let's show you all the numbers. We'll break this down right now. Okay, so one thing I'm going to say right off the bat is, and guys, understand, we're diving into very, close numbers, a couple of hundred RPMs in spin, a couple of degrees in launch for the most part. One thing that impresses me is that both of these devices, if nothing else, we've confirmed that both of these devices, for what you get for the price, are very accurate. And I think all of us as golfers can be very relieved to know that launch monitors that used to cost tens of thousands of dollars are becoming more accessible to everyday golfers. That's why I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of these type of devices out there on the range. But when it really comes down to it, we want to look at this and say, if you've got that $700 in your pocket to spend, which one is it going to be? And if you're really concerned with accuracy, let's dive in and look. Now, like I said, we're going to put all the numbers on the screen. You can pause this video, take a look, do some of your own number crunching here. But let's just go through first and run through the first one, which was wedge, right? Here we're seeing that in almost every one of the 5 categories, the MLM2PRO performed better. And the big one for me that highlights here is going to be carry distance. You think about it, what are we working on with wedges? We're working on dialing in our distance. If I'm using this for a wedge practice, in an environment like this, working in my backyard into a net, I want to make sure that what I am doing correlates to really how far the ball is traveling. Here we saw out of the 3 shots, the MLM2PRO was within 1 yard on average in carry distance to the Foresight. versus the R10 was off by 10 yards.
That's big.
10 yards of the wedge is concerning to me. Spin, again, MLM2PRO was within 50 on average, so even better. But we saw some good numbers from the R10 too. One was within 2 RPM.
Right.
So some of them are pretty good. Spin axis, here's where we start to see a little bit of trouble. And this kind of goes up, we'll show you that in a minute. You had ones like, for example, the second shot where the GC3 is saying that it's turning, the spin axis is negative, and this is giving us a positive number.
Yeah.
So it's not even quite on the right side of that tipping point. So that concerned me. But on the other side of it, the MLM2PRO, look at these spin axis numbers. Almost identical to what we got from the GC3.
Yeah, how about that?
Remember, that's an $8,000 device, okay? And then launch angle, they were both very, very close here. And there, even the R10 performed a little bit better, but both less than 2 degrees off in launch angle. Jumping over to irons, here again, carry, I would say, is not as off in relation to the total distance it flies, but still more off on the R10. 6 yards on average versus the MLM2PRO was within 2 yards of carry distance. That's,
within 1 on wedges and within 2 on the irons.
That's significant to me. But again, I don't want to feel like I'm dumping on the R10. You'll look at these numbers. I think a lot of you who are already R10 owners are going to think this is validation that in a lot of ways there's a lot of very accurate numbers in here. You may just be concerned with that carry distance and that spin axis. Talk more about that in a second. Spin though, both of them were right around 50 RPMs in difference, not bad at all. Spin axis though, again, we saw a bigger deviation with the R10. And launch angle though, both very good again. I mean, literally the MLM2 just eked it out by 0.02 of a degree.
Right.
So if you're working on wedges or one of the other shots with launch angle, I'd be pretty happy with either one of these. Last one is driver, and driver is where we started to see some real problems emerge with the R10. Off the bat, the carry distance, 11 yards different versus the GC3 for the R10 versus the MLM2PRO was only off by less than 2 yards, less than 1.5 yards. It was 1.45 yards on carry distance.
So carry distance on all 3 clubs, pretty much spot on for the MLM2 versus the GC.
I would say 100%. I could get behind that. Ball speed within 0.5 miles per hour on both. But spin started to really unravel for the R10 here. We saw it off by 874 RPM on average, and that's with the RCT ball. I'm gonna tell you why though. The reason is, with driver, obviously the ball is traveling faster and making impact with the screen quicker. That gives the device less time to measure. The Garmin themselves says with the RCT ball, they require at least 2 full revolutions in order to get an accurate spin. So if you're thinking driver moving fast and spinning a lot less, look at some of these spin numbers below 2,000 RPM, it's not turning enough to get a really accurate number. In fact, I'll put this on the screen. There's a chart that the Garmin provides saying, basically, the lower the spin you hit and the faster the ball speed, the further you need to be to get an accurate measurement. So one of 2 things. Either you have a much lower ball speed, and this might be more accurate for you, or you might have a lot more space. But for me, I'm even thinking in the backyard into a net. Once I start getting out into that 12 or more feet, either I need a much bigger net for safety.
Some big sidewalls, right?
Right, or something like that. So keep that in mind. Now that, though, is the benefit of an optical or a camera system. And it's why we see, too, a lot of Foresights, the GC Quad, the GC3, like we're using here, used indoors. Because the way that they're measuring with a camera system, at that moment of impact, it requires a little bit less travel. And then again, jumping into spin axis here too, really just not ideal. And again, this could have been exacerbated by the distance to the screen. Again, if I had a lot more distance, which it's a huge space, we don't have that space here to test it, we might have seen these being a little bit more accurate. But for example, my second driver where we saw 34 degrees left on the GC3, we saw 8.9 degrees right
with
the R10.
Right.
I mean, look at the first one. That was a hook.
Yeah.
Right? 55 degrees left on spin axis versus 30 right.
Yeah.
It wasn't even in the same ballpark there. So, final thoughts here. $500-700 in my pocket. I'm going with the Rapsodo because of this, because of the additional cameras, because of the fact that it saves the impact frames,
Right.
all of that stuff. I just think you get more accuracy and bang for your buck with the newer Rapsodo unit. Who knows, maybe Garmin will come out with a response and something new. If so, we'll be here to test it. So make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. If you have questions, post them in the comments below. We'll see you in the next video.